in, got it, cool. I'm a UC Davis alumni. I graduated in 2016 with a degree in chemical engineering. And now I am really pursuing my passion as a health coach. And so, yes, I started a company with my husband, who's also a UC Davis alumni. So we're all Aggies in this house. And so we've started a company called True Health Forever, where we really just try to promote living healthy in a holistic sense. So that's why today we are going to be going over the 6 ingredients to a healthy life. Now, for anybody that joined thinking I was going to go over 6 super, superfoods that are going to, make you a superhuman, not quite what we're talking about today. What we're going to talk about is if you were to cook up a healthy life, what are the 6 things that are most important to include in that recipe? Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to try to make this interactive while staying on time. We'll see how it goes, but let's go. So I first just want to start, right? When we're talking about health, there's a lot of different definitions of health. So I wanted to first start with what is health and make sure we're all on the same page. So I have 2 definitions here, right? On the left side, you see lack of disease or illness. And that's really, it's a very limited view of health, in my opinion, right? Just because you may not have a disease or some type of illness at the current moment doesn't necessarily mean that you are healthy. On the right side, we have what I believe just a little more holistic sense of what health means, and that's experiencing vigor of the mind, body, and spirit, right? It's not, the other definition, it's a little bit more old school, a little bit more westernized view. What we're going to be talking today is really thriving, right? We don't want to just not have, of course, we all want to be, disease and illness free, but we want to be doing more than that. We want to be thriving in our lives. We want to have vigor of the mind, body, and spirit. We want to be happy. We want to be healthy. We want to be out there just doing the best and living our purpose. Okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'd love to, okay, there we go. Okay. Let's move on. So the other thing I want to start off by saying is that there is no one size fits all approach to health. Okay, so health is what a healthy life is going to look like may be different from one person to the next. What works for one person may not work for another, and vice versa. So what we're really going to talk about is how I'm not going to prescribe, or I'm definitely not going to prescribe anything, but I definitely don't necessarily buy into any one size fits all, any one diet, any one exercise, any one form of stress management or anything like that everybody should do to be healthy, because I truly feel like that's for everyone to decide for themselves. And that's part of why we called our company True Health Forever, because we believe true health is what that means for each individual. Okay. So I did want to cover that part as well. So let's jump into the first ingredient to living a healthy life. And I want to preface, I did put these in somewhat of an importance order, at least for the first couple, but, there is definitely some nuance on, what could be important, what could be more important. But for me, nutrition is one of the biggest things that we all should be focusing on to live a healthy life. I put it there, it's arguably the most important input variable to our health, right? If you think about input and output variables, input is what you put in, output is the results that you get. So the input variable, what we're putting into our bodies, is so important on a daily basis, okay? So the benefits, right? What are the benefits of really focusing on eating a high nutritional diet? A robust immune system. Many folks, I was surprised to learn this, but 70 to 80% of your immune system actually resides in your gut. And that was very surprising to me. I thought it was kind of all over in the cells, but it really starts in your gut. So when you think about the food that you eat, it's so important to make sure that you are, consuming really nutrient dense foods so that you can foster that really robust immune system. Okay. Another benefit is consistent energy. Energy is something that I think, we all struggle with at one time or another. It's, waking up feeling like, oh man, I didn't quite get a good night's sleep. You may, even if you wake up feeling that energy, sometimes it kind of dips throughout the day. So that consistent energy is another benefit to eating a nutrient dense diet. And then, of course, you can reduce the likelihood of chronic illness and disease. So that's something that's important for everybody, right? And of course, it's really hard to say, like, it's right if you eat a certain way that you'll never come down with anything, you'll never experience any type of chronic illness or disease. But what I like to do with it, and kind of the mindset I like to put myself in, let me stack the odds in my favor, right? Let me do what I can do, all that I can do to make sure that I'm stacking the odds in my favor to live a long, healthy life as much as possible. Let me see. Looks like we got some chat action. Okay. So some habits that you can adopt to, again, focus on nutrition and really living a healthy life through the lens of nutrition is eating whole foods, right? So there are a million different diets out there. You've got vegan, you've got vegetarian, you've got pescatarian, you've got keto, you've got carnivore diet. Like, there are a million different diets. And again, I'm not here to recommend any one specific diet because it's really going to be up to you what works for you. But one thing that most of the diets have in common that they kind of all agree on is that eating whole foods is best for the body. And basically, if you're wondering, like, what exactly is a whole food? We're talking about vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, quality meat, and whole grains. Okay. So basically what that means is that although processed food is great, for convenience, and it definitely has its place. If it's just one of those time frames where it's like, I do not have time to cook right now, let me go ahead and grab a quick, processed drink or a processed meal. They definitely have their place, but we want to focus on having most of our diet around these whole foods. Okay, so that may mean cooking more, but that doesn't have to mean cooking more. There are a lot of meal delivery services and things like that that you can utilize to make sure that you are still having your diet, mainly consumed of whole foods. Okay. And the reason why you want to limit the processed foods is because a lot of them, they have a lot of things added to them, a lot of preservatives and chemicals and things like that to preserve the shelf life of the food, right? And so if we're eating the food as close to nature as possible, right, as close to its original natural source, we're gonna be in a good place. Okay. The next habit is eating the right food for you. So you might be wondering, what does that mean? How do I know what the right food is for you? Part of it is really paying attention. So if you've never kept a food journal, I am a very big proponent of food journaling because what it starts to do is strengthen the mind-body connection. And so if you start to write down, okay, well, for lunch, I had a sandwich, I had this, I had that. And about, an hour or two later, sometimes I'll set an alarm on my phone. If I know it's a busy day and I may not remember to go back and, journal, I'll set an alarm on my phone. And, okay, make sure you journal. So it goes off and I go back into my journal and see, like, okay, how do I feel? I feel pretty energized, or you know what, I'm feeling a little bit of indigestion, I have a little bit of gas bloating, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to fix it right then and there, but now you've made the connection between when I eat this, I feel this way. And so you'll start to think about that the next time you're looking for what you're going to eat for lunch or, whatever for your next meal. So that mind-body connection is a really foundational premise that I think is important when you're trying to figure out what's going to be the best diet for you. There are also some tools that are available, and this is actually something I utilize with a lot of with my clients, is trying to figure out what is going to be the right diet for them at this time, because there's not any one diet that's going to work for you for the rest of your life. Our bodies change all the time. So a couple other tools you can use are food sensitivity testing. So that is something you can do. It's usually either with like a little, prick of blood on your finger, or a blood draw if you want to go for like the more robust food sensitivity testing. And what they do is figure out what your specific body reacts negatively to when it comes to contact with your blood. Because if you imagine, right, when you eat something, your body breaks it down, and then those nutrients enter your blood, into your system, right, and they get filtered through the blood. So if they take it on a micro level and say like, oh, okay, your blood actually had a negative reaction to dairy, to, for me, it was wheat and soy. But I had no idea, right? Even when I was eating my healthiest, quote unquote, I was still incorporating wheat and soy. So it wasn't until I took that step that I was able to figure out, okay, this is something I should probably be, consuming on a very limited basis, if at all. And then there's also another tool called metabolic typing that can help you figure out kind of the macro side of it, right? So how much carbohydrates versus proteins versus fats that you should be eating in your meals to feel the best, to have, really consistent and good digestion. So those are some tools that you can use. And then the last tip, of course, is you want to stay hydrated. Water is so important to the body, right? It helps, recirculate the blood. It helps with energy. It helps with just about anything that goes on with your body. We are made up of water. So you need to make sure that you're staying hydrated. And again, there's some nuance with how much water everybody should be consuming, but a general rule of thumb is if you take how much you weigh in pounds and you divide it in half, that is the amount of ounces they say that you should be consuming. Okay, so that's something that you can kind of utilize as a general rule of thumb. Okay, those are the tips. Let me see if there's any questions or anything in the chat. Food journal, yes. What's my favorite healthy power breakfast? My today goal is wild rice pancakes with walnuts and fresh blueberries. That sounds like a great breakfast. That's a very hearty breakfast. My favorite power breakfast is a smoothie. I am actually a very big proponent of smoothies. I love smoothies because it's a good way to get a whole bunch of nutrients in. And it's kind of in a pre-digested form, right? So if you think like your digestion is a very taxing process for the body. So if you can kind of give your body a little bit of a break with a little bit of a pre-digested breakfast, I find that my body really likes that is a smoothie. So that's my favorite breakfast with some fruits. I do add some like spinach or kale always. I'll add some chia seeds, some hemp seeds to get that protein. And then I also usually add like a superfood powder that's got some, some great ingredients in it. And then I finish off with a nut milk to get my healthy fats in there. And that's how I make sure that it actually keeps me full. So that's definitely my favorite breakfast. Yes, love smoothies, absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to the second ingredient. I'm like moving this around the screen. The second ingredient is movement. And notice I was very intentional not to say exercise. I said movement. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes when we think exercise in a traditional sense, we think like, I have to be lifting weights, I have to be doing squats. And really movement is literally that. It's just moving your body in whatever way that is fun and is going to be consistent for you. That is the best way to do it. So our bodies expect us to move daily. And, way back when it was more ingrained in the society, we had to move daily to go out and hunt for our food, to go out and, go to the farmer's market, to bargain for fruits and vegetables. We had to get moving. In today's society, especially in COVID, we don't really have to do any of that. You, with the touch of the button, right? You can get your groceries delivered, you can get your food delivered, you can get pretty much anything that you need delivered to your house. And so we have to be more intentional about incorporating our movement into our daily lives. So that can be walking. I think walking is a very underrated form of, exercise or movement. That's something that our bodies were literally made to do. So if you do nothing but just take a couple of walks, two 15-minute walks during the day, you're going to see a very big difference. Okay. So some benefits for movement are mobility. So, one of the big things for me when I'm kind of figuring out my movement practice for the day or for the week, I do like to focus on mobility because one of my goals is to be able to play with my great grandkids. And I know that sounds so simple, but what we don't realize is a lot of folks, if we're not intentional, then we start to lose mobility in our knees, in our hips, right? And then unfortunately, sometimes we get to that place where we're not able to really live life how we want to, right? We're kind of constricted to the small movements that we are able to do. So if you're intentional early on about making sure, you focus on mobility, then you'll be able to kind of really be able to live a robust and healthy life with your joints, with your muscles for a longer period of time. So, I actually, I love it. It is kind of an exercise niche called functional mobility. I absolutely love it because it's different, right? I kind of get bored with some of like the squats and, lifting dumbbells. So that's just me. Again, everybody's different. But I get a little bit bored with those type of repetitive movements. So I like to switch it up. So functional mobility kind of uses your body weight to put you in different positions and work on muscles that you may not even realize are there. So that's definitely a benefit. Detoxification. That is another big one that we don't always think about and associate with movement. We all have about, I think it's a liter of lymphatic fluid in our bodies. And that is kind of what all of the toxins that are excreted, that our body's trying to get rid of, they enter into what's called our lymphatic fluid, and that's how they kind of flush through the system and then get secreted through either our urine or our stool. But it's very important for us to get moving throughout the day to move that lymphatic fluid, right? If we're just sitting, that fluid really isn't going to go anywhere, and those toxins are going to stay in our bodies, right? And that basically kind of creates a breeding ground for things that we don't want, right? For things like cancerous cells to really thrive and multiply. And again, just unhealthy joints, like those are all things that we're providing the environment for if we don't get up and get moving. So it's really important in whatever way that you see fit to get up and get moving on a daily basis so your body can detoxify and excrete all of those toxins that we do. It's inevitable, right? We're going to, they're in our environment, they're in our air. So even if you're eating the cleanest diet, you're still going to have some toxins that are entering your system. So making sure that we are moving our bodies so that those can exit the body is important. And then, of course, lastly, a better mood, right? When we exercise, when we move our bodies, there are hormones that are released like serotonin that help make you feel happier, right? I don't know if you ever gone for a workout and you may not feel like you want to, but after that workout, you're like, I'm glad I did that. Like, I feel better. I feel ready to take on the day. That's kind of, a result of some of those hormones releasing into the body and, making you just have a better mood. So it's important to do it for that reason as well. So some habits that you can focus on to really make sure that you are incorporating movement. Find a movement activity that you enjoy. If you don't like running, then don't, make yourself run every day. Don't say I'm going to go on a 1 mile run every day if you don't like running. And the reason why I say that is because it's not going to be sustainable. I really believe that the best exercise is one that you will actually do. It's really that simple. So whether that's swimming, whether that's dancing, sometimes I will literally just put a song on and dance around in my living room for like 20 minutes. And that's my workout for the day. Just do something to move the body around. So swimming, playing soccer, surfing, dancing, Zumba, walking, like these are all acceptable ways to get the body moving. I always like to try to get us out of the stigma that, an exercise has to be the specific thing. I need to lift weights. I need to do these things. Yes, it's good to switch it up sometimes. So maybe once a week you do some weightlifting, but that doesn't have to be something you make yourself do every day if that's not something you enjoy. So the next habit is to integrate it into your weekly routine. So again, whether it's something you do, if you're saying you're walking, maybe doing it twice a day or, one long walk in the day. If you want to do weightlifting once a week, right? If you want to do a dance class once a week, whatever you decide is going to be your movement practice, make sure you incorporate it on a daily or weekly routine, depending on what it's going to be. And then focus on consistency rather than intensity. So sometimes we get into like the hot and cold, right? We're hot, meaning like, oh, I'm on it. I'm going to go 1 week straight of, doing my workout straight and it's going to be high intensity and it's going to be great. And then we have our cold times when it's like, I really don't feel like working out right now, so I'm going to go 3 weeks without working out, right? So in that month, yes, you've had one really good week, but then you had 3 weeks where you didn't do anything. My humble opinion, it is better to be lukewarm when it comes to movement, right? If you don't want to do a very intense workout every single day, that's fine. Like I said, go on a walk. Go on a 30-minute walk every day. To me, it's better to be consistent with something like that than it is to kind of have those really hot and cold moments. Again, your body you really need to move it every day. So focus on doing something that you can do every day, rather than something that you do once a week, or or do really intense for a period of time and then kind of get burnt out. So those are really my biggest tips and for habits that you can adopt for a movement practice. The third ingredient, anybody got a guess? Anybody? Bueller? No? Okay, that's okay. The third ingredient, I'll give you a hint. It has to do with stress. Stress management. Okay, so in today's society, stress is inevitable. It's going to happen, right? And we cannot control what life throws at us, but we can control how we react to it. So in my opinion, we should focus on how we react to it rather than what life is throwing at us, okay? So some benefits, right? And I think to take a step back, 70 to 80%, I think it's actually higher, like 70 to 90% of all doctor's visits are for stress-related ailments, right? So that really kind of puts it into perspective that stress can do the body good. I don't want to paint stress as a bad guy, right? Because stress in itself can be good, right? In certain levels. There's acute stress and then there's chronic stress. Acute stress, that can actually be healthy for the body, right? Because it triggers what's called the flight or fight response. So, right, if you were out camping and you see a bear, I'm not saying that this isn't a healthy situation to get into, but I'm trying to, paint the picture of the fight or flight response. If you are out camping and you see a bear, without you thinking about it, without you doing anything intentionally, your body is going to go into fight or flight response, which means you are going to be deciding, is this a situation where I'm going to fight for my life, or is this a situation where I'm going to flight, meaning run? And there's a couple of things that happen when your body goes into that mindset, goes into that state. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases, you start to sweat. All of these things happen to put your body in the position to be ready to defend yourself. Okay. So in acute situations, that is a good response to have. The problem is that for most of us, in today's society, we're experiencing that. We're in that state all the time. And that is a very dangerous place to be, because there are hormones that are released when you're in that state called cortisol. It's known as the stress hormone, as well as many others, but I'll focus on this one. And this is released, which causes a whole cascade of different reactions in your body. But if you're always releasing that cortisol, one, you're going to deplete the amount of cortisol that your body has to release in those acute situations. But that's also going to start depleting your other hormones. There is a kind of cascade of reactions that happens when we're staying in that chronic stress. So it's very important to incorporate a stress management routine in your daily and weekly life. Okay. So some benefits of stress management: healthy blood pressure levels. So as I mentioned, when we're in a stress state, our blood pressure naturally rises. It's meant to do that. That is our body's response, because to help you survive, right? But we need to, again, and when we're in those situations where we're okay, we are safe, we need to let our body know it's okay. Let's bring that blood pressure back down, so that we don't have that lead to a whole bunch of other issues, which it can lead to heart attacks and all of that stuff we don't even want to mess with. So hormone balance. So as I mentioned, cortisol is released when we're in that stress state. So once we kind of get into, once we start to manage that stress a little bit more, we're going to find those hormones balance a little bit. And, you know, for example, for women, right, when we are in that stress state, our cortisol levels are going to rise, which also affects our estrogen levels, which also affects our progesterone levels, right? All of these things need to stay in a balance. So when we are able to keep everything nice and balanced, then those can stay in a healthy level. Okay. And then of course, right, this should look familiar, reduced likelihood of chronic illness and disease. So as I mentioned, 70 to 90% of doctor's visits are for stress-related ailments. So if we're able to kind of manage the stress that we experience on a daily basis, we're reducing the likelihood that we're going to have to go into the doctor's office for something stress-related. So some habits. Abdominal breathing. This is called a lot of different things, but I like to call it the abdominal breathing because it basically is focusing on breathing through your abdominal. So if you, for a lot of us, the natural way that we breathe is with our chest, right? When we breathe, we feel the chest go up, and then when we exhale, the chest, you know, concaves. What you want to focus on, at least for a couple minutes each day, is breathing. Put your hands on your abdominal, and when you breathe in, you should feel your abdominal, you know, poke out a little bit. And then when you exhale, it should come back in. That is going to trigger what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that is, I talked about the fight or flight response a second ago. This is basically the opposite. This is what tells your body, like, step on the brakes. We're okay. We're safe. Let's calm down. Let's relax a little bit. So that's a kind of a biohack or a excuse me, a habit that you can hack, excuse me, to trigger that response. And if you do that for a couple minutes on a daily basis, that can help you manage your stress levels. That's actually my favorite way to meditate. Which brings me to my next habit. Find a meditation practice that resonates with you. There are several different meditation practices. So again, I'm not here to say to do any one specific. I love breathing exercises, but I'd also, I would love to get into transcendental meditation. But, you know, do some research on different meditation techniques, or you can just do it more intuitively, that's kind of how I started, which is literally to just sit there for a couple of minutes, distraction free, you know, don't have your phone around, and just try to focus on something, whether it's your breathing, whether it's an affirmation. Some people like, you know, to just repeat affirmations, whether it's humming, you know, whatever kind of just makes your brain calm down a little bit and lets you focus on one thing rather than all of the things that may be racing in our head at any one time. And it's okay if your mind wanders, right? Sometimes we think, at least I thought meditation is like having your mind go blank, and that's not really realistic. So when your mind jumps to something else, just make sure you bring it back. That is the practice of meditation. And then lastly, go out in nature. You know, we are meant to be out in nature. Of course, in today's society, sometimes we're confined to, you know, our buildings and our structures. But so we have to be a little bit intentional to go out and get into nature, right? Whether that's going on a hike, going out to the beach, going to a park, whatever it is, go outside. Okay. So I'm going to go to the next. I talk a lot. So of course, I'll go through the next ones a little quicker. So the next one is sleep, which I think is underrated as well. So you can do everything right, but if you are not getting adequate sleep, you will not see sustained results. Okay, that is the truth. So the benefits of sleep, and really quick, I think this is underrated. I think sometimes when we are running low on time, the first thing we'll do is say like, I'm going to stay up later, or I'm going to wake up earlier. You know, and I really do want to touch on this because I know that, you know, there may be some folks going into college or who are currently, you know, college students. All-nighters, I'm not a proponent of them, okay? And I this is from experience, because sometimes you think like, okay, let me just study for this midterm I have tomorrow, and then I'll catch up on the sleep the next day. And we do that, and then you get to the midterm, and you, without a good night's sleep, your body, your brain is automatically at least 25% less sharp as it would have been if you got your basically your ability to recall things, your ability to analyze and think critically is reduced by 25% at least without getting a good night's sleep. So you can do all of the studying that you want, but if you're not able to actually recall those things that you studied, it's not going to be helpful. So a lot of times it's more beneficial to get the good night's sleep, work with what you've got so far, maybe cut it down a little bit, but at least get some sleep. Okay, so I just want to say that because I know there might be folks going into college and we always think like, oh, I'm going to pull all these all-nighters. Definitely, I would not recommend doing that on a regular basis. Okay, so the benefits of sleep: sustained energy throughout the day, robust immune system. The sleep is when our body does most of its work, right? So if you're trying to lose weight, the fat loss is going to happen when you're sleeping. When we're sick, we always wonder why we get tired, because that's the body's natural way of trying to repair, what is going on in the body. So it's very important for the immune system that we get a good amount of sleep. And then I mentioned, again, fat loss and muscle repair is something that also happens while we're sleeping. It does not happen at the gym. It actually happens while we're sleeping. So if we're not sleeping, we could be doing all of the work in the gym that we want. If we're not sleeping, we're not going to see those results. So some habits: keep a consistent sleep schedule. Studies show that 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the best window for deep sleep. Avoid screens for at least 1 hour before bed, or wear blue light blocking glasses. So any screen emits blue light, and this, our eyes trigger this, our skin, they all feel this radiation, and it's important that can actually affect and inhibit our body's ability to produce melatonin, which is the sleep hormone that actually makes us tired. Okay, so, and then avoid working or studying in bed. You want your mind to associate the bed with sleep. And if we are working or studying in bed, it's going to be very hard to switch our brains to say, okay, well, now it's time to go to sleep if you were just studying there a minute ago. Okay. Okay. Relationships, number 5. Making and maintaining meaningful connections with other people is a part of living a healthy, balanced life. So the benefits of maintaining good relationships are better mood, networking, and improved mental health, right? We always need those people that are close to us that we can lean on when we're going through it, that are going to, and for meaningful connection on a regular basis, right? To really maintain a healthy life. We don't always associate this with health, but it's very important. So some habits: get an accountability partner or an accountability group. And this doesn't have to be like I think we always think like if you're trying to lose weight or something, or trying to do a fitness routine, that's great. But it can also be like, hey, make sure at 10 p.m. that I'm going to sleep, right? It can be for any habit you're trying to adopt. Find an accountability partner or a group. Avoid or limit interaction with energy drainers. We all have those people that when we talk to them, you're like, oh, like that person that when you look at the phone, you go, that's who I'm talking about. Okay. We all have those people. Okay. Avoid and limit those interactions, because again, we don't want folks to be draining our cup, because we want a full cup to be able to fill into others. And then focus on quality over quantity. So I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase that you are the sum total of the 5 closest people around you, but I always try to think about that. So rather than focusing on having 1,000,001 friends, focus on having a really strong core group of 5 people around you. That can be family, that can be friends, that can be whoever you want, but focus on the quality over quantity. And lastly, purpose and passion, the 2 Ps. Living a purpose-driven life has been shown to help you live happier and longer. So this is, again, not always something we associate with being healthy, but it is very important, because your purpose and your passion is the why you wake up every morning. And if you really focus on living a purpose-driven life, you're going to have sustained fulfillment, you're going to have a better mood, and you're going to have resiliency. When those tough times come, if you know that you are doing what you're doing for a greater purpose and, for a bigger why, then it's going to be easier to get over those very hard times. So some habits: incorporate something that you are passionate about into your routine. This can be this is going to sound silly, but this could be like playing with Legos, right? If that's something that you were really passionate about as a kid and you kind of rekindle that passion, absolutely play with Legos for at least an hour every week. right? This can be playing soccer. This can be going to dance class, whatever it is. Just incorporate something that you're passionate about into your routine. Make your why visible in your space. So everybody has a different why. Whether you're trying to cure world hunger, whether you're trying to just, provide a good life for your family. Everybody has a why, and make that why visible in your space so you see it every single day. And lastly, this one is more for like, if you are just struggling to find that purpose or to find something you're passionate about, reflect on what you enjoyed as a kid. Because, when we're children, we don't have a lot of life's pressures and influences, kind of weighing on our decisions. So we typically will live a little bit more carefree and just play with what we enjoy. So yeah, think about what you liked as a kid, and that may be a guiding source for you. So those are the 6 ingredients to living a healthy life. Okay, so we've got nutrition, we've got movement, we've got stress management, sleep, relationships, purpose, and passion. If you focus on these 6 things, you are going to feel and live a healthy life. And again, it's in whatever way you see fit. And yeah, so that's really the takeaways that I want everybody to leave this workshop with is this is how I can live a healthy life. And you don't have to focus on all 6 of these things at once. I don't recommend it. But you can I do think that nutrition is one of those that if you focus on, eating a really balanced diet for whatever that means for you, you're going to see a very big benefit that's going to cascade into these other things, right? You're going to have more energy, which is going to probably motivate you to move your body more, right? If you have more energy, you're probably going to want to focus on your stress management. You'll get better sleep, right? And you'll have more energy to go out and do more things with friends and foster those relationships. So I do think that nutrition is a best bang for your buck, if you will, where it will lead to a lot of cascading into these other categories. But if you feel good about your nutrition, or if that's not really one you would want to talk about, then pick the weakest link. The one that, as I was going through this presentation, you were like, oh, yeah, I got to work on that. Start there. That's a good place to start, and just adopt one habit. Decide that next week you're going to do this one thing. I'm going to go to bed 1 hour earlier. I'm going to, call my friend. I'm going to set an alarm to call my friend. To continue to foster those relationships. Whatever it is, I'm going to go on a walk every single day. Do one habit, start small, and that's how you make those lasting improvements and changes. So if you'd like to keep in touch, I've got some information here on where you can find more information on True Health Forever and, what we do on a regular basis. So I've got our website there, truehealthforever.com. We do have the True Health Forever podcast where we talk about a lot of these things that are in these 6 categories. I've got our Instagram right there, True Health Forever, our Facebook, and then our email address if you'd like to reach out for any help on this as well. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. Oh, I do have a raffle question for anybody who went through the workshop. Let me go back to, what is one of the benefits that I listed under the movement section? And whoever answers this is going to win a raffle prize. You can put it in the chat, you can come off mute, whatever you see fit. Better mood. Tracy, you got it. You got it. So Tracy, you are the winner of the raffle prize. Good job. Yes, better mood, mobility. I don't even remember the other one. Those are the 2 main ones that I talked about. So definitely great job there. Again, thank you for joining me for 6 ingredients for a healthy life. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of this symposium. And yeah, keep in touch if you'd like. Again, here's the information. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sinclair. Fabulous session.